Well, in honor of Black History Month, we stay in the NFL. We talk about the NFL and racism because one Brian Flores, you remember him, he was the coach of the Miami Dolphins. Well, he has filed a lawsuit in Manhattan federal court, did that yesterday, due to discrimination regarding interview processes with the Denver Broncos in 2019 and the New York Giants just a short time ago. And also the way things ended in Miami. A lot of allegations in here. Some of them just kind of weird, like the Miami Dolphins owner paying him to lose games so they can get a better draft position. The Broncos brass apparently showed up drunk to his interview, didn't take it seriously, and other Rooney Rule violations. You know how I look at some of these things. Whenever I hear the word racism, I try to really come out here and I try to find it.
Okay.
And maybe it's here, but I got to tell you, the highlights from some of these stories, they don't jump out to me that way. So break this down for us.
Okay. So I guess you have to look at this to two different ways. Let's just call it what it is for this segment. You're looking at it through the eyes of the black man, and you're looking at it through the eyes of the white man. So, with that said, you know what I'm saying? We talked about this before the show, right? And like, to be fair, if one can say, well, I'm looking at all this and I don't see no racism, then the other person can say, I'm looking at all this and I don't see racism. Or I do see racism. What do I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, before I dive into it, let me just go and get this out the way first. This is all a moot point until we get a black individual in a leadership position that matters, that can actually stand up to the 32, the shield, the owners, and actually have some say in that meeting. Until then, this is cool. This is nice. The NFL is gonna play. They're gonna pay Flores because they got the money, and it is what it is. Just like they took care of Kaepernick, it is what it is. Soon the NFL is just like they got the money, whatever. Now, with that said, it's hard for me to believe that it's just zero foul play going on here when you have 32 teams, one black coach. 32 teams, zero black owners. 32 teams, I want to say my math might be off with the GMs because we got GMs in and out, so I'm going to leave that alone. But you talking about a league that's 75% African Americans. 75%. Now, I would agree with the point of just because the league is 75% African Americans don't mean you're supposed to have a certain number of African Americans in leadership roles. True. However, when you look at the other leagues, the NBA in particular, they seem to be able to figure out how to evenly spread out the group, the African Americans, the whites, hell, they even incorporate the Europeans. So they can figure that out, but we can't figure that out in what tends to be the king of sports right now in football, in a sport like this. And quite frankly, like I said, that is just, you can hit me with the Rooney Rule, the Uno Rule, the Monopoly Rule. I don't care what the rule is. It's just gonna be what you said, a rule. What I mean by that? Let's dive into what Brian Flores said. So, to what you led in. Okay, he said the brass, the leadership of the Denver Broncos showed up to the interview drunk. Meaning one or two things for me. One, they didn't take him serious as a candidate. Two, they already knew who they was gonna hire. All I know is Nathaniel Hackett got announced pretty fast. Okay, cool.
So to be clear about Denver, this was when Flores interviewed 2 years ago when 3 years ago when Denver hired Fangio. So Flores' allegation against Denver is back from 2019. The Giants is a current allegation that just occurred.
Right. Boom. All right. So thanks for that. So if that's the case, like you say, unprofessional. Yeah, yo, that's unprofessional as it gets. First and foremost, like, come on, man, are we kidding me right now? This guy, you listen, you're a billion-dollar franchise, and you're gonna get this guy. This guy is gonna be the equivalent of what? Probably like a district, I don't know, like supervisor or something. But an important job, and you just like, yeah, man, I had a long night in town. I was out there with Susie. Yeah, hey, why you want the job, man? Oh, man, whoo. Man, you ever had those shots? Oh, man, them things are crazy. Hey, you think we could reschedule this? Oh, man, I need to lay down a little bit. And then he got like a sofa bed in his office that he pull out and just lay on it. Like, that is crazy unprofessional, right? But all right, cool. Like you said, 3 years ago, and that's not to say Vic Fangio didn't deserve the job, because like you said, that man waited around for a very long time to get his shot. So I can't say he didn't deserve his shot, right? Then let's talk about what happened with New York. Now, granted, if it wasn't for the fact that he got the text message from Bill Belichick and all that, I don't think people can really argue that Brian Daboll don't deserve that job over Brian Flores, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I look at what Brian Daboll did with the Buffalo Bills and look what Flores did with the Miami Dolphins. You cannot look at both of them and be like, Brian Flores is definitely better than Brian Daboll. I don't know, Chief. We'll have to dive into that one. So I think the bigger piece for that situation is the way the information was dispersed. The way that Bill was like, hey, man, just heard the news. You know, this is what I equated to. Military guys, I think you'll understand this. I equated to, I said this at work. It's like a promotion board, right? You got board members in the promotion board. Now, they know who's going to get this promotion and who won't. And they don't supposed to say anything, but you know how it go. They get out of there. They're like, hey, man, congratulations, man. You got that. You know what I'm saying? But you didn't hear that from me. And then they roll off and they do whatever, right? And now you all happy, but you can't say nothing because you aren't supposed to know. It's supposed to be a surprise. That's what I feel like Bill Belichick did. Bill Belichick, hey, man, good job, man. Oh, you sure I got it, coach? Yeah, man, it's signed, sealed, and delivered. Heard it from the man himself. Hey, man, you deserve it, man. Hey, congratulations. Are you talking about Brian Daboll or Brian Flores? Oh, shit. Yeah, oh, man. Oh, shoot. I dropped the ball on that one. Hey, sorry, bro. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so Bill Belichick maybe indulged in some information he shouldn't have. So he made a mistake. But we can't necessarily call that racism. He got his Brian's mixed up. Maybe he should put pictures next to the name so he'll know who he's talking to. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? So he did coach the.
That's yeah. I was just thinking, like, for Bill Belichick to make that mistake, that's one of the biggest oddities in all of this. The most detailed coach ever, like, to make that type of oversight, I just find it odd.
Very well. Now, so Brian Daboll got the job. Now, so then Flores. So okay, to that point, I found that odd until probably follow-on actions. But so then, all right, boom, that comes out. Brian Flores say at that time he was yet to interview for the job. So what are we talking about right now? Like, wait.
Right. Yeah.
So now you telling me congratulations on the job I ain't even interviewed for yet. And then, you know, he interviewed. Maybe the interview don't quite go the way he think, and then Brian Daboll get announced. That was part of the Rooney Rule. Well, the Rooney Rule was supposed to, you know, at least up the ratio of African American players and GMs. But all you really did was just add work to the teams, because you still can't force anybody to hire whoever they. I mean, listen. I said this to you before the show. You can't go into Amazon and go to Jeff Bezos' office and say, hey, Jeff, hey, check this out, brother. You need to make sure that your COO is black. We need an African American now. You got that? All right, thanks, man. Jeff Bezos is probably going to turn around and say, security, get this bomb out of my office. And throw you out with pleasure and tell you, don't ever come to my office and tell me who to hire in my organization. You can't go to Tesla and tell Elon Musk, hey, man, so your chief product maker, he needs to be an African American. We kind of need that black face right there. So if you can just, hire one, promote one, do whatever, you know what I'm saying? We looking to have about 3 to 5 around here. You got me, Elon? I'm pretty sure he's going to tell you, get the hell out of his building. And he might have somebody rough you up on the way out. But in the world of sports, we feel the need that can happen. Why do we feel the need that can happen? Because the population of the sport. Because African Americans make up a big population of the sport. So you would think that you would see more of the population in the management, in the leadership, in the hierarchy of these organizations. But I just, to your point, is that fair? Is that fair to say? So then I think okay, we were just talking about Robert Smith. He's in a running to possibly buy the Denver Broncos right now. If he was to buy the Denver Broncos, I feel like that's the biggest move you can make. I like what Brian Flores is doing. I appreciate what Colin Kaepernick did for us. But the biggest move you can make to impact the future of the African Americans being in the hierarchy is for Robert Smith to end up winning the bid to buy the Denver Broncos. Because now you have somebody in that top room of 32 that can say, all right, one of 32, I got it. But still, you got something. You got something there. We pulling at something, right? So that's why I think that goes, right? And then to go back to rewind all this back to Flores. Now that Flores then said something, now Hugh Jackson out here with the, yeah, man. I mean, I wasn't gonna say nothing until Brian said something, but now that he just said something, the cat's out the bag now. So in 16 and 17, they paid me to lose games too. That's why I was losing so much. Y'all know I'm a better coach than that. But I mean, that tuition was getting to me. I had to make these ducats right quick. So, yeah, man, they was paying me to lose too. Once again, I don't know if that's true because, I don't know, Cleveland just wasn't that good. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that information. But
I don't think, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I'm also going to say that owner didn't need to pay Hugh Jackson for that team, for those teams to lose. They were awful.
Facts. So you got that. Now, to Brian Flores' previous employer, and I think this is the craziest part of it all, because, like I said, you can dispel the rest of it. I don't understand. Okay, what is the real reason Brian Flores got fired from Miami? I gotta know what is the real reason. You can't tell me he's a bad coach. We seen the product that Miami turned out with an offensive line that was letting people die by the minute. We seen how he built that. Just 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I should say, we thought they was the most uninterested team in all of football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now they like a close to the edge playoff team. 1 or 2 more wins, they in the playoffs. I want somebody to explain to me what in the hell did Flores do to get fired as the head coach of Miami. Not to mention, this is the same Brian Flores, if you remember this, that called out the black players on his team for making a big deal of what was going on in the country. Remember that. He a black coach reprimanded his black players for what was going on in the nation at the time. That's how much courage this guy got. Because I can tell you right now, every black coach ain't doing it. They ain't doing it. Because you know what you get labeled as when you do something of that magnitude.
I know a white coach ain't doing that. I'll tell you that much.
Facts. So, he did that. And I'm going to be honest, that's when I got on the Brian Flores bandwagon when he did that. When he called out Kenny Stills, when he told them, listen, knock it off, man. Y'all out here with this Beverly Hills bull crap. Y'all don't know what it is to be in the trenches out here actually in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? Out here dealing with you being an immigrant getting spit on because you know what it is. And he did that. I just don't understand. This is what I want to know. Listen, I want the 30 for 30. I want to know why Flores got fired after the season he had, and all of a sudden it turns around to be this race thing. What happened here? How did this spiral out of control? I told you this before the last show we did. I thought Flores was going to be the next head coach of the Houston Texans. I really did. I thought when it was all said and done, they was going to get him to Houston. Deshaun Watson was going to be happy to have a winning, coachable head coach. He was going to get in that thing and be motivated again to play, and the rest was going to be history. Instead, my man is suing the NFL and getting compared to Colin Kaepernick. And I just don't know if that's what he was going for, even though things seem to work out for Colin Kaepernick. But I'm gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna say this, Jay. We might not be able to prove true racism here, but it's definitely an imbalance here. When I have to see guys like Josh McDaniels get multiple chances to be a head coach, I see guys like they wanted to hire Dan Quinn. What the hell did Dan Quinn do to deserve another head coaching job? I see guys, the only coach I know that got a real layup and that was black was Colin. And make no mistake, when Stephen Colin, when he was the head coach of the Texans, he was the lowest paid head coach in all of the football league for a reason. Because they didn't think much of him when they hired him anyway. That was just something to try to get Deshaun Watson back into the fold. And
you're talking about David Cullen.
David Cullen. I'm sorry. David Cullen. But it was a reason why they paid him like the bottom tier, whatever you pay NFL head coaches. They didn't take him serious. He didn't even take himself serious. He was never a coordinator. Like, come on, man. You went out there and basically hired a manager and then told him, hey, come on up, your shot. You didn't take that serious. Let's be real here. So when I watch these guys like keep getting brought up for head coaching jobs, and you're like, what? Who? What the hell did he do? But then I watch black coaches, like they go be one and done, and you don't hear from somebody. Tell me what Steve Wilkes said. Somebody let me know, because we know he was in Arizona for one cup of coffee, and that was it. Him and Josh Rosen got sent out as a package. Like, they were out of here. Both of them I don't even know what Josh Rosen at for that fact of the matter. But they both got sent package. I think the criteria for black coaches outside of Mike Tomlin, and let me bring up Mike Tomlin, because that's the caveat for everybody. Well, you got Mike Tomlin. I don't see he ain't complaining. Well, after 15 winning seasons, why would he complain? And, by the way, you know who he played for? You know who his owners is? Oh, the Roonies. Oh, what was it? The Rooney Rule? Yeah, it's a correlation now, folks. The same Roonies that own the Pittsburgh Steelers is the same Roonies that instilled the Rooney Rule, because they thought they was creating something to create a fair balance. And in retrospect, what they did was just create more work for themselves. Is what they did. However, they don't have to worry about that.
No, because they don't fire people.
Right. So they don't really have to worry about that. So they're like, hey guys, hey 31 other owners, that's on you. See you later, man. They just dropped that bomb and just left. And they're like, hey Tomlin, hey, make this easy on us and keep winning, buddy. You know what I'm saying? So he doing his end. He doing what he's supposed to. But that's one guy out of 32. And well deserved. One guy out of 32. Well deserved. But at the end of the day, like I said, Jay, and we talked about this, it's a few openings, right? We was talking about this: Jacksonville, Miami, New Orleans,
Minnesota. There's still a few.
So this narrative could change here in the coming weeks. But as we talk right now, one black coach out of 32, which probably one of the longer tenure coaches out of 32, I might add. Two, 0 black owners out of 32, it does make you wonder. Yeah, I might not be able to point to direct racism, but I can point into something is not right, something is unbalanced, and something needs to be done to at least stop the noise of racism. Because the NBA done figured it out. I don't hear baseball people yelling the MLB is racist. I don't, hell, I don't even hear this in the NHL, and I can't tell you how many black people play in the NHL. But still, in the college football, in football, the American football, what the sport that's the king of American sports, we saying racism for whatever reason. So it's what like my mom used to tell me growing up, where there's smoke, there's fire, and it is some smoke around this situation, Jay. What say you?
Uh, well, I have to say, just in regards to the Steelers may be, if not the best example of how to run an NFL franchise. They are certainly at the minimum top five, and they've had what, three coaches in probably the past, what, 50
In the,
years or so.
in modern day era, only three coaches.
You go back to, yeah, you talk about Chuck Noll, 4 Super Bowls, Bill Cowher, a Super Bowl, Mike Tomlin, a Super Bowl. The great thing about that is, um, I don't think, and I think this was Mike Tomlin was hired before the Rooney Rule, but I don't think Mike Tomlin got hired because he was a black man. I don't think Bill Cowher got hired because he was white, and I don't know about Chuck Noll, but I'm gonna guess the Rooneys. They wanted to win football games and they wanted to win titles. And when Mike Tomlin interviewed after Bill Cowher left, they hired Mike Tomlin because they felt he was the best man for the job. And don't cancel me for only saying man in that instance, but that's what we have now. So my bottom line problem is that as we just continue to get pigeonholed on race and characteristics that we don't have um, a snowball's chance in hell of fixing, we are moving further and further away from what we should be talking about, which is merit and qualifications, and the best person should be getting these positions. Now, I will say to you, at face value, when you talk about whatever percentages you want to throw in, league players, 75% black and all that, and then you look around and you have one black head coach at this particular moment in time, it does kind of like, well, that's a wee bit odd. But you do have to go back a couple years. You go back a couple years, 3 or 4 years. Names like Anthony Lynn and Hugh Jackson and Vance Joseph and Steve Wilkes and there's others that I'm missing. I mean, Brian Flores. So it's not like the NFL has like for years now, like, oh man, 0 out of 32 head coaches. This is ridiculous. And then Mike Tomlin got a job. Well, we making inchworm progress here, So it seems to me that this thing has kind of fluctuated in recent years. Marvin Lewis is another guy you can throw in here. It is a much like, and again, don't throw me off the air, but much like that, we look back at recent elections, and we say, you know what? I don't know about this one. Are you 80, 81 big? Are you sure? All right, well, I can't put my finger on, but I'm not sure about that. I think there was some irregularities in there. At the very least, there appears to be some irregularity. Now, the problem I have with this is I'm looking, listen, the headlines from all this are like, Brian Flores say the NFL is racist in its hiring policies. I'm guessing the meat of that is the Rooney Rule violations, which I would say that rule team, I think we've kind of suspected this. Teams are just checking the box on this because they want to hire who they want to hire. As well, and I think you should. I think you should when you, in the general cases, these are, billion-dollar franchises, and the owners, invested whatever money he has, a lot of it. You should be able to run that business how you see fit. You brought up the private business angle of it with Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and whoever else you want to throw in there. You're not telling them who to hire. So the problem is when you start getting into this situation where Okay, we have the percentage of how many black players we have. So what is the solution? Because everything is generalized right now to where, okay, we just want more. Well, how much more? Is it 75% coaches need to be black as well? Does it need to be, about the same as the workforce? Because if you don't give me a target, then I don't know what to do for you, because we can just say more and more. And then, by the way, so you have the Rooney Rule, which means you have to interview minorities for these positions. Well, I mean, is it really when you just mandate interviews for who, you may not, obviously, I don't know, man. Maybe Denver, maybe it wasn't a serious interview for Denver with Brian Flores when they hired Vic Fangio. Maybe it wasn't a serious interview for the Giants when you got Bill out here texting like, "Hey, man, congrats!" Like, are you sure this it's Brian Flores? Oh, my bad, I messed that up. That could. I mean, obviously that wasn't a serious interview because Dable had already gotten hired before Flores even interviewed. So, I mean, that's obviously a terrible look. But so, but I can't get mad at the teams necessarily because they following the rule, but that's a rule that the NFL imposed to because diversity. Well, at the end of the day, like uh Goodell worked for the owners. They own the teams. They're in charge. They can hire whoever the hell they want. And this does go back to the point which we have made on segments like this before, where we said, if look, man, I brought up the Nathaniel Hackett, Eric Bieniemy, fictional example. These guys, both of them, qualified, really, along the same lines. They got the same type resume. You could flip a coin. Well, I mean, if you got a white owner, which, you got Shad Khan. I think he's the only minority owner. And he goes with the white guy because, dare I say, he might be a little bit more comfortable with that guy. They might speak a similar language. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And I think, and you've conceded, and I think rightfully so, because we're fair-minded individuals, that ain't, I wouldn't call that racism. Because on the flip side, if you had a black owner and the same situation, he might hire Bieniemy because he might speak the same language he does.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. Now, the thing I think the Rooney Rule I think it's a racket, and teams are just trying to skirt around it. They just comply with it, but they're not taking it seriously. But I think that's an NFL problem because you're trying to force diversity or equity or whatever, throw whatever buzzword in there. And these teams just not that interested in it. They want to hire who they want to hire. I would hope they're hiring the best people for the job. And so now some of this other stuff is just foolish. I think there's a lot of bad policy and unprofessionalism. The John Elway and the Denver Bronco brass out here drunk or whatever, that's obviously unprofessional. And this Stephen Ross crap about paying the coach to lose, that's what are you doing? But none of that to me. These are things that are not racist. And by the way, just in fairness, the three teams, the Dolphins, Giants, and Broncos, have all denied the allegations. And the NFL has obviously made their whole equity statement, which like, well, we support diversity and we trying to do it and blah, blah, blah. Well, good. Um, so, but the Stephen Ross thing, what it comes down to, back to the ownership, you got some rotten owners out here. You just do. Dan Snyder is a joke. And I don't care what name they name the team. This guy should get on out of here. So what I'm interested in, if you're Dan Snyder, not Dan Snyder, not him, but if you're Roger Goodell, and where the hell is Jay-Z at? I thought he was working with the NFL on social justice and all the rest of it. Jay-Z, get the brothers together and say, hey, look, guys, Denver's selling their team. Why don't y'all go over there and buy it? And we can create the change from up top, because that's where it's going to be. And then for Roger Goodell, like the NFL need to come up with something to where, like, hey, y'all, owners, y'all come here with this bull crap. And I swear, if this Stephen Ross crap about paying people to lose is true, y'all need to get the board together and like take a vote. You should be able to vote somebody off the island, because this is ridiculous. Like, forget the racism stuff. Like, this is incompetence at the high. No wonder you haven't won anything ever, because you got a coach who gave you back-to-back seasons for the first time since 2003, and he's the one that got to go? Yo, come on, man. Look, disgraceful in every sense of the word. I do want to know more, but I have to say, look, my other problem with this is, and this goes to Hugh Jackson as well. When these things happen, for me, and I know this is easier said than done, but if this stuff happens to Brian Flores in 2019, I would have, and I know this is very easy to say. I resign. I like, no, I'm not doing that. That's unethical. That's bad policy. I didn't come here to lose football games. I know, and we go back to the time where we was talking about, man, Dolphins ain't gonna win a game this year. Well, they won 5, and then they won 10, and then they went 1-7 to start this season, but they finished 9-8. Brian Flores is a hell of a coach. When you talk about young defensive minds, I go back to that Thursday night game against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. It was something to behold. When he got fired, when Miami let him go, I said, Denver, hire this man right now. I'll take him. And by the way, not to show how morally superior I am, not my cup of tea, but look, I'm about hiring the best person for the job. Todd Bowles deserves a job. I think Leftwich is right for the job in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. There are obviously qualified black coaches that should be able to coach again. And I do think the whole retread thing, it does seem like, and I can't put my finger right on it, but it does seem like the guys that get second chances are more often white than black. I'll submit that to you. But the overall problem I have with this, when the headline says racism, show me the racism. Because if you're gonna defame, if you're gonna make these charges, which are drink at this day and age, you might could get away with being some really horrible things in this country. Henry Ruggs killed somebody. It's probably better to be Henry Ruggs than a racist right now. I'm going to go ahead and say that. So when you say that, and you know what a
I don't know. Hey, Henry Ruggs.
You say that, but
he's sitting in that cell right now. I don't know, man. I might have to take the racism over that one. I don't know.
Maybe, but it's tight because, man, like the racism charge, that's an ender in another way. That's something you don't want to be associated with racist. I'm gonna say that, but if you say that, you have to show me the racism, and I hope they can show it because that's something. Because Drink, we live in a society now where, especially in terms of that, people are not innocent until proven guilty. That's a label that sticks in a lot of cases. So, obviously you have to see how it plays out in court. But the other part of it is when you go back to the Kaepernick comparisons. When Kaepernick started his kneeling thing, I thought that was it. Like you could see the writing on the wall. This guy not a viable NFL quarterback anymore. So take that what you will. The sad thing here is, if we are right about Brian Flores is now the coaching equivalent to Colin Kaepernick, it's a real damn shame because Brian Flores obviously can coach and he should be a head coach right now. The real crime is he should have never left Miami. That was a mistake. It just proves how Miami is in terms of ownership. The Broncos have an opening. The Washington and Miami they deserve new owners, and damn it, Jacksonville might be next because that dude's about as apathetic as it gets. So I don't know. I hope we get to the bottom of it. I hope look, in the end, I really believe the best person gets the job. Let's focus a little bit less on color. But in closing, and I meant to say this up front, what a pleasure to be here with you and talk about some of these subjects openly and honestly with common sense. We probably don't agree fully on this. A lot of times we come to the same conclusion, but it's absolutely okay. And I did want to throw that in there. It's a great pleasure.
Hey, man, and as well for me, brother, because at the end of the day, like you said to the racism part, you know what I'm saying? I say this at work, hey, it's going down. Hey, what you mean? Da, 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 da. You know, so it's good to have a platform. I can see it. You can see what you see through your eyes. I can see what I see through my eyes. And when it's all said and done, it ain't like, yo, F this dude. he can eat a bag of babies. You know what? You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you for allowing me to say what I got to say on this subject.